I turned $3,000 into $57,000 in 2.5 months. I'm gonna prove to you how it's not luck and why having the skill of trading is a lot more important than the amount of money that you have. The reality of trading is that you don't need a lot of money to make a lot of money. As long as you have a systematic approach with a positive expectancy and solid risk management, you will be able to make consistent money in the markets. I'm going to be showing you guys all my statistics, the exact strategy that I used to achieve these results, and some tips if I were to do this all over again. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. As you can see right here, I ended up making $50,000 net P&L. And if you go onto my regulated broker, this is Interactive Brokers, and I'm refreshing the screen right here. You can see the net asset value. This is a live broker statement. You can see I started off with $7,000. This day I actually started off with $3,000, ended off with $57,000 for a net return of 700%. And as you can see right here as well, I have every single trade that I took within that 2.5 month span to make me over $50,000. This is all the proof right here. This is a regulated broker. This cannot be faked. I showed you guys. I'm refreshing the screen. As you can see right here, everything is done in real time. Some things to note, this was done a few years ago when I was actually trading on lighter size. Now I personally have a larger account, so that's why I don't have these small account challenges. But if I were to start off a small account, it would be the exact same thing and the exact same approach that I would take today. So I'm going to be showing you guys how I would approach trading a small account. I'm going to talk about my stats, my risk management, risk reward ratio, talk about leverage, talk about my strategy, and how I would be able to replicate these results, maybe not in the exact same time frame, but how I would be able to do this if I started from scratch. So let's get into the video. As you can see, we're back on my TradeZella here, and I want to talk about some statistics that might shock you guys. A lot of people talk about win rate. You need to have a high win rate in order to become a profitable trader, and this is just not true. As you can see right here, I had a 38% win rate, and I ended up making over $50,000 with very minimal drawdown, as you can see right here, and I ended up doing this with around a 40% win rate. So as you can see right here, what I want to talk about is your risk to reward and some misconceptions when it comes to your win rate in trading. A lot of people think that you need a super high win rate, 80, 90% win rate in order to become profitable, but that's just not the case. As you saw on my statistics, I had around a 40% win rate with a 1-to-3 risk to reward ratio. This landed me in the green percentile, and this made it so I was a very profitable trader, as you can see right here. At around a 40% win rate with a 1-to-3 risk to reward ratio. As long as you have statistics similar to those, you're going to be very profitable. As you can see, I also had very minimal drawdown, as you can see on my P&L graph overall. A lot of people think you need those high win rates, those 80, 90%. What comes with the 90% win rate is that you have a lower risk to reward. I personally like having those high risk reward trades instead of having those super high win rate with a very negative risk to reward ratios. So that's one misconception that I want to talk about. A lot of people think you need a high win rate and you need it in order to become profitable, but that's just not true. So as you can see, we're back on my TradeZella now, and we had a 40% win rate, profit factor of 1.76, daily win percentage of 90%, and an average risk to reward ratio of 1 to 2.76. So that means for every single dollar I was risking, I was looking for at least $2.76. So this is my average risk to reward ratio, and that's why I was able to have a lower win rate, and I was still very much a profitable trader. Now I want to talk about the risk amount when it comes to being able to turn $3,000 into $57,000 in such a short period amount of time. To be able to achieve these type of results, you need to risk a decent amount of your position size. For me personally, the way I trade a $3,000 account is going to be a lot different than how a normal person would be able to trade a $3,000 account. For me, I was risking 5 to 10% per trade when I was trading that amount. To be able to risk 5-10% on $3,000, for example, let's say you're risking 10% on a $3,000 account. That means you're risking $300 to try and make $900, right? So you're risking a decent amount of your portfolio to make a decent amount. And that's what happens when you trade a small account. Obviously, I would not recommend beginners to do this because I had a proven system, I had proven statistics, and I was able to scale my account that quickly. But for a normal person, you only risk the amount you can afford to lose. A solid risk amount that we always tell people to trade off when you're starting in a beginner trader on a small account is you want to risk around 1% of your account. This means if you were trading on a $3,000 account, you would only be risking $30. In this case, the $30 would only equate to $90. So you can see right here, if you're risking 1% of your account, you're only going to be making $90 if you win. As in this case, I was risking 10%, so I was risking $300 to make $900. And you can see how that math works. If you risk more, you're going to be looking to gain more. And of course, if you lose, you're going to lose more on your account. Me personally, I traded with a $3,000 account how I would have traded with a bigger account, because I'm able to lose that money. If I lose the full $3,000, I don't really care if I lose that full $3,000. It doesn't really mean that much to me, right? This is not saying that $3,000 is a lot, right? $3,000 is still a lot of money, but if I lose $3,000, it's not the end of the world. Whereas if you trade, for example, with $3,000, if you need this money to pay your bills, to support your family, right? It's going to be a lot harder for you, emotionally speaking, to turn that $3,000 into, let's say, however much money you want it to, because you need that money. You're trading with money you can't afford to lose. In my case, it didn't matter if I lose the $3,000 because I'd still be fine. So in this case, I was able to risk the 5 to 10%. So I was able to make that $57,000. Some other stats I think is very important to understand is that majority of my trades were taken within the first hour to an hour and a half of market open. As you can see right here, most of my money was made during 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m. That's where all my trades were taken. Whenever you're trading within the first hour, you have liquidity, you have continuation, you have a lot of volatility. So that's how I was able to capture and make all my profits earlier in the morning, right? Within the first 2 hours of market open. Something else that's kind of cool to note is that I did this all on one instrument. As you can see right here, I only traded Tesla. Tesla was the only ticker that I traded throughout this whole period. This was when Tesla had that huge bull run towards the upside. I was able to capture on this basically continuation almost every single day on Tesla, if it was either towards the upside or the downside. As you can see, I made all my money on one single ticker, which was Tesla. This is kind of cool to note that you don't have to trade multiple tickers in order to become profitable. I did this solely off one ticker. And this was just for the first 2 months. I ended up making well over 6 figures on Tesla in just this one whole year. Some other statistics that's kind of cool is position sizing. You'll see a lot of the times I ended up taking quite a few starters. A lot of times when I do take starter positions, there'll be losses. That's why my win rate was underneath 40%, is because I would take a lot of smaller starter positions and I would end up cutting those if they didn't work out. And if I had a solid position, as you can see right here, I was able to capture in a lot of money. So I took a lot of starter positions. I took a lot of small losses, but when my setup came and I knew I had an edge in the markets, that's when I would put on size. And you can see most of my money was made when I had a decent amount of position size, right? Whereas compared to my starters, I almost lost on all the starters that I had. But as long as you have very small losses with those starter positions and you nail your solid A+ setups, right? That's when you'll end up making a lot of money. And that's where you can see my P&L chart graph as a whole. That's where I had very minimal drawdown, is because I was taking a lot of small losses on those starter positions and I would nail the actual position on nice size for those solid wins. So one thing to note is that everything was tracked. So I had all my statistics tracked out. So I was able to review these and see what I can improve on. And that's how I was able to make this type of money and how I was able to make money consistently throughout my trading career. It was because of the journaling and the tracking and everything that I did. If I didn't have these statistics, I wouldn't know when my best opportunities came. I wouldn't know when I trade the best. I wouldn't know what my risk reward ratio is. I wouldn't know what my trade win percentage is. I wouldn't know what instrument I like trading. If I didn't have these statistics tracked, I would have never known this. So that's why they're so important to track and to journal and to look over your statistics every single day to see what you can improve on as a trader. I see a lot of people ask me, how do you improve as a trader? It's all done outside of the market hours. When you're not trading, you're going to be journaling. You're going to be tracking your statistics. You're going to be refining your system. You're going to be finding ways to improve your edge slightly over a shorter period amount of time. If you have a 1% increase on your edge, that is huge over an exponential amount of trades, over 100, over 1,000 trades. If you have a 1% edge in the markets, that is going to be a huge determining factor of your overall success in the markets. So I want to talk about my strategy, and this is basically the full bare bones of the strategy and what I was looking for. It's the price action around key levels. If price broke above this key level, I was going to see the reaction around this key area. If price was going to continue towards the upside, right, I'll be looking for a buy position off this level, looking for a reward towards the upside, or I'll be looking for a potential break below this level, and I'll be looking for a potential short for a push towards the downside. So this is the most basic bare bones of how I was able to make this money. I was looking for key flips on support and resistance levels, right? If we were breaking above a level and holding, I was going to take a long position towards the upside. And if we broke below a key level and we end up retesting towards the downside, I was going to be looking for a position with minimal risk with a high risk to reward ratio. That's how I was able to make that type of money. You'll see a lot of times, right? I had a 40% win rate, so I wasn't right a lot of times, but when I was right, I would make a lot of money. So now let's go on to some of the live examples that I took in real time to achieve these results. Okay, so we're on my first example here, and the main thing I always talk about is risk. It's not about how much money you make. As you can see right here, I made $6,200 on this trade, but it's not about how much I made, it's how much I risked. As you can see in this case, I was only risking about $900 to be able to make this type of money. I only risked $900, ended up being a 7 risk reward ratio. I actually took a couple losses before this, but this was the trade that I ended up nailing, and this was the perfect trade that I needed to make a decent amount of money for the day. So let's go into the live session and see exactly what I was seeing on the charts. So as you can see, we're on my live example here, and we recently just ended up breaking underneath its key level. So the levels I have marked out, as you can see, is basically your opening candle print and your opening candle print low. And what happened was I actually just ended up trying to use this as a retest. I quickly ended up getting stopped out. So now I realize that price is back underneath your opening candle print. As you can see on the higher time frames as well, right? We have potential room towards the downside. I have a key level right here, which is your 874. And now we got underneath your 874. We got underneath your opening candle print high. So I'll be using this level as basically a retest for continuations lower with my risk just to break above that level. As you can see, I also just entered in my position. I have 11 contracts here, basically right at this level with around 11.2 average on the contracts. Now let's play out the tape and see exactly what happened. So you can see right now the position is starting to head my way. We had that very nice rejection off of our key level, which is our flip. We're now underneath our opening candle print as well. So I'm looking for essentially continuations to 855, which is where my contract strike price is. And I'm looking for continuations below as well. So you can see right there, Tesla is melting towards the downside. I'm scaling along the ways. My key target really is your previous day low, but as you can see, I'm getting paid as the contracts are moving in my favor. I'm basically just scaling as it's heading into my favor. So you can see right there, that basically was almost my full profit target right there, right down towards your previous day low for a super solid win. And you can see my risk in this case was just a break below, and my target was all the way down towards your previous day low for a super solid win. Very minimal risk, as I mentioned. I was only risking $900 on this trade. Ended up making over $6,000 for around a 7 risk reward ratio. Absolutely beautiful trade towards the downside. And this is exactly what I look for. I look for a very very minimal risk for a large amount. So that's why I had a 40% win rate and I was a very profitable trader. So now let's go on to the next example that I have for us today. As you can see, we're on my next trade here. And as I always mention, it's not about how much I made, it's about how much I risked. So in this case, I was risking around $700, ended up having a 5 risk reward ratio. And let me go over exactly what I was seeing in the markets. Something to also keep in mind as well, whenever you have a higher risk reward ratio, your win rate is going to decrease. So in my case, as I mentioned, I had around a 40% win rate, but my risk reward ratio was so high. That's why I was able to make that much amount of money in that short period amount of time. So now let's go on to the live session that I have for this day. You can see the setup that we're looking at coming into this day is we're looking for the retest off of your opening candle print. So the same principles still apply. I'm still using the exact same strategy to this day. In this case, my entry model was the 84% rule. I just ended up getting stopped out. Now we're looking for that reclaim of your key level, your hold on the 5-minute of your opening candle print high. And we're looking for basically that retest and that 84% rule for basically continuation towards upside, right? My target was all the way back towards high of day, as you can see on the right-hand side. And my risk was a very small amount, which was just a break below this key level. As you can see right here, my risk amount was very minimal. And let's see how this trade played out. You can see I just bought in around 8 contracts with an average of around 1483. As you can see, this exact setup that I mentioned, I'm looking for this kind of wedge break on the 5-minute with the hold of your opening candle print for basically that continuations towards high of day and above. You can see I'm scaling some contracts there, and it's so funny seeing the tape when you look back on it, how you evolve as a trader. I was so happy that price pushed towards the upside, but now when I take a trade and I win, right, I don't really feel anything. If I win or lose, it doesn't matter too much, but looking back on the tape, I was so happy that price ended up pushing towards the upside. You can see right here, we have that clear setup I was talking about, that opening range candle on that 5-minute retest, right? Nice wedge break as well. We're looking for the hold of it. Entry model 84% rule, right? Very minimal risk for a very nice kind of push towards the upside. Very solid risk reward ratio, as I always talk about. And really the exact same setup. If you guys watch my videos now, I'm trading the exact same way. I've been trading the exact same way for the past 3-4 years now, exact same strategy, exact same setups, and they're still working to this day. And it's so cool to see, right? The markets have not changed. It's the exact same setups, and we look for the exact same things. And these things repeat over and over again every single day. You just have to look into the markets. Oh my gato. Absolutely beautiful trade, as you can see right there. So funny seeing my reaction looking back on the tape, but beautiful trade off of that 5-minute opening range, looking for high day and continuation above, which is your 946. Ended up scaling majority of my position, as you can see, was scaling out of my contracts for a very, very solid win on the day. So now let's go on to the final example that I have for us today. The final example I have for us today is on Tesla. Once again, you'll see every single trade that I took was on Tesla. Only traded one ticker with one strategy. That's how I was able to grow my small account. And as I always mention, right, it's not about how much I made, it's about how much I risked. In this case, I was risking around $900 for a 3.52 risk reward ratio, right? The setup was a very solid setup. As you'll see right here, is basically a classic break and retest for a nice push towards the upside. Ah, yeah, there is an edge. Let's see if it holds this. So you can see right here what I'm looking at is the opening range break and retest. I've hammered this strategy so many times over. It's the exact same strategy and it still works to this day. I've been trading this strategy for a few years now. And as you can see right here, I'm looking for that break above your opening range candle high. And I'm looking for that retest of this level for continuations back towards the upside. So as you can see right here, risk is 10. So you can see I just entered in my position. I got a little bit of a later entry that I would like to, but I was waiting for confirmation. Now I'm looking for that push towards the upside with a risk just a break below that opening range candle, right? Same thesis still applies, same setups to this day, and I'm looking for that push towards the upside with the relative strength in Tesla compared to the QQQ.
Risk is $700.
As you can see right there, I just mentioned the risk. I was only risking $700 on this trade.
I am bullish. Oh my gosh, I'm bullish.
So you can see we just broke above high of day. We're having nice continuation so far off of that opening candle range on that 5 minute that I always talk about.
I'm not selling. This is so bullish. Target's 14. Oh my gosh. I wanna run it high. Let's see the take speed up. Let's see this volume perk. I love this. I love this. Let's see it close strong. 5 seconds. 2 contracts right there. Just in case, but I think it's gone.
So you can see right there, basically close half my position, but beautiful trade off of your 5 minute opening range. As I mentioned, always, right? The exact same setups happen over and over. I'm looking for reaction around key levels. I'm looking for that opening range break on the 5 minute. I'm looking for the reaction around key levels. I'm looking to see if price is going to be bullish above the opening candle print or if it's going to stay heavy and get below. As you can see, right, the exact same strategy still applies to this day. I was risking a very minimal amount, looking for that continuation towards the upside, right? Absolutely beautiful trade. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It was fun putting this video back together, seeing my old footage and how I was able to turn a very small account that I did a few years ago up into over $50,000, and in the end I made well over a few $100,000 by the end of the year. Good times to look back on, but I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you guys made it all the way to the end, I wanted to let you guys know that I am hosting a free webinar tomorrow, Thursday, August the 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys would like to join, it's completely for free. I'm going to lay out the full blueprint on how to become a successful trader. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you guys drop me a like and sub, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video. Peace.